Hey, Mighty Habits listeners, it's Steven here, ready to unpack some heavy stuff today, letting go and moving on after a relationship ends. I mean, we've all been there, scrolling through old texts like archaeologists searching for a lost civilization of love. But hey, what if I told you heartbreak doesn't have to be a bottomless pit of despair? What if it can be a launching pad for serious personal growth? Get ready for some counterintuitive wisdom that might just turn your perspective upside down. You know how everyone says time heals all wounds? Well, get this. The source I dove into argues that while time doesn't erase the past, it does give you a chance to gain a new perspective. It takes roughly half the time you were with someone to start forgetting them and about a year to fully process the loss. So if you're still reaching for the ice cream after a few weeks, cut yourself some slack. You're right on schedule. And speaking of timelines, let's ditch that whole right person, wrong time excuse. Ever notice how when you're truly into someone, logistics kind of melt away?
The source suggests that's because the right person won't derail your dreams. They'll become your biggest cheerleader, maybe even your co-pilot on the adventure. So if someone's acting like your ambitions are a deal breaker, maybe they're just not the right fit for your life's flight plan. Now brace yourselves for a thought that might initially sound a little terrifying. What if you accepted the possibility that the one your soulmate might not actually exist? It sounds scary, I know. But think about it this way. It could free you from the pressure of constantly searching for that perfect match. Imagine the freedom to pour your energy into other passions, like writing that novel, learning to tango, or finally mastering the art of sourdough baking. And who knows, maybe while you're out there living your best life, you'll bump into someone who digs your sourdough and tango moves. Even if you don't, you'll have built the life you're stoked about. And that's a pretty awesome foundation for any relationship. Let's talk about this whole pressure to be perfect, especially in the age of filtered selfies and curated social media feeds. We're all trying to present this flawless version of ourselves. But let's be real, perfection is a myth.
And honestly, it's kind of boring. The source argues that true connection comes from embracing our imperfections, both our own and those of others. It's about finding someone who loves you for the real you, messy hair, coffee breath, and all. And that goes for self-love too. Instead of beating yourself up for every little slip-up, try celebrating those quirks that make you, well, you. Those are the things that make you interesting, memorable, and let's be honest, a lot more fun to hang out with. One point that really stuck with me is this idea that forgiveness is a journey, not a destination. It's about releasing the bitterness and resentment that keep us stuck in the past. And here's the kicker. It's not just about forgiving others, it's about forgiving ourselves too. We all make mistakes, and clinging to that guilt just weighs us down. So whether you're replaying that awkward first date or agonizing over a decision that didn't pan out, try extending the same compassion to yourself that you would to a friend. It's not about condoning the past. It's about creating space for healing and growth. Now, speaking of tough stuff, let's talk about infidelity. It's a double whammy of grief. You're not only mourning the person you thought you knew, but also the shattered illusion of the relationship. The source emphasizes that it's crucial to acknowledge that pain and allow yourself to grieve. And part of that grieving process involves forgiving yourself. You are not responsible for someone else's actions. Remember, you deserve to be with someone who treats you with respect and chooses you every single day. One more thought before we wrap up this part of our deep dive. Let's reframe our relationship with solitude. Instead of dreading alone time, what if we embraced it as an opportunity for growth and self-discovery? Think of it like a personal retreat where you can reconnect with your passions, explore new interests, and simply enjoy your own company. It's about ensuring that when you do decide to open your heart to someone new, you're doing it from a place of wholeness, not desperation. And sometimes that means getting comfortable with silence, with being your own best company. Welcome back to Mighty Habits, folks. We're digging deep into the art of letting go and moving on. And let's be honest, it can feel like navigating an emotional obstacle course sometimes. But you know me, I'm all about finding those unexpected nuggets of wisdom that help us clear those hurdles with a little more grace. Before we went to the metaphorical water cooler, we were talking about the importance of self-love, ditching the right time myth, embracing our imperfections, and the power of forgiveness. But let's get real, letting go isn't a one-time event, it's a process. And it's a process with more twists and turns than a rom-com plot. The source I'm diving into calls this the ladder of happiness. And it's a pretty spot-on analogy. Some days, you'll feel like you're scaling that ladder with confidence, embracing your newfound freedom and crushing your goals. But other days, you might find yourself clinging to that bottom rung, reaching for the tissues and maybe a pint of Ben& Jerry's for good measure. And you know what? That's perfectly normal. Healing isn't linear. It's more like a dance, sometimes graceful, sometimes a little clumsy, but always moving you forward.
even if it feels like you're taking 2 steps back for every 1 step forward. So be patient with yourself. Celebrate those days when you're feeling strong and give yourself permission to wallow a little when the waves of sadness hit. It's all part of the process. Now let's talk about something that can really trip us up on that ladder. Those moments when we find ourselves thinking about our ex even after we've decided to move on. It's like their memory has this uncanny knack for popping up at the most inconvenient times, like when you're finally enjoying a peaceful morning coffee or rocking that new haircut. The source acknowledges that people who've had a significant impact on us don't just vanish from our minds overnight. It's like they become part of our internal landscape, and disentangling ourselves from their influence takes conscious effort and time. But here's the encouraging part. Those thoughts do become less frequent, less intense. Think of it like fading ink.
It might always be there, but it's no longer the bold, attention-grabbing headline it once was. As we build a life that excites us, filled with new experiences, passions, and connections, the grip of those old memories loosens, allowing us to see the world with fresh eyes and an open heart. Okay, I know what you're thinking. Easier said than done, right? And you're absolutely right. Letting go, especially when you've poured your heart and soul into a relationship, is one of the toughest things we humans do. But here's the thing, it's also one of the most liberating. When we truly let go, we're not just freeing ourselves, we're freeing our exes as well. We're giving them the space to find their own happiness, to pursue their own paths without the weight of our expectations or the residue of our hurt. It's like we're finally giving them the permission slip to live their best lives. And in doing so, we're reclaiming that permission slip for ourselves. Now I want to dive into some of the more nuanced aspects of letting go, the things we don't always talk about, but that can really sabotage our efforts to move on.
For instance, the source I explored had this really thought-provoking section about how love, as magical and powerful as it can also become an addiction. Think about it. How many times have we sacrificed our own dreams, our own values, even our own sense of self in the name of love? How often do we contort ourselves into pretzels trying to fit into someone else's mold, hoping that if we change enough, if we give enough, they'll finally love us the way we want to be loved? It's a dangerous game, my friends, and one that rarely ends well. It leaves us feeling depleted, resentful, and ultimately further away from the love we're so desperately seeking. So what's the antidote? The source suggests a radical shift in perspective. Instead of viewing love as something we need to chase or earn, what if we saw it as a force that flows freely when we're aligned with our truest selves? When we're honoring our needs, pursuing our passions, and living a life that sets our souls on fire, that kind of authenticity is magnetic, and it attracts the kind of love that feels like coming home, not like constantly trying to earn a spot on someone else's guest list. And here's another truth bomb from the source. Love isn't always enough. As much as we romanticize the idea of love conquering all, the reality is that sometimes, despite our best efforts, relationships just don't work out. And that's okay. It doesn't mean love failed. It means that particular chapter of our love story has come to an end. And as painful as that ending might be, it opens the door for a new chapter to begin a chapter that might be even more beautiful, more fulfilling, more aligned with our true selves. But here's the catch we have. To be willing to close the book on that old chapter, to let go of the past and turn the page with an open heart and a sense of hopeful anticipation. All right, before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to share one last nugget of wisdom that really resonated with me, something that might sound counterintuitive at first, but stick with me. The source argues that sometimes a breakup is the happiest ending a story can have. I know it sounds crazy, right? But think about it. How many times have we clung to relationships that were no longer serving us, relationships that were draining our energy, dimming our life, and preventing us from growing into our best selves? Sometimes those painful endings, those heart-wrenching breakups, are actually the catalyst for incredible growth and transformation. They force us to confront uncomfortable truths, to reevaluate our priorities, and to step outside our comfort zones in ways we never imagined. And in the process, we discover a strength and resilience we never knew we possessed. We learn to love ourselves more deeply, to set healthier boundaries, and to choose partners who truly align with our values and desires. So as we move into the final part of our exploration, I want to leave you with this thought. What if the real happy ending isn't about finding the one or living happily ever after in some fairy tale romance? What if the real happy ending is the growth we experience along the way, the lessons we learn, the strength we cultivate, and the love we discover within ourselves? What if the real happy ending is the journey itself, with all its twists and turns, its heartbreaks, and its triumphs? We'll be right back with the final part of this deep dive, where we'll explore some practical tips for navigating this often turbulent terrain and discover how letting go can be the greatest gift we give ourselves and those we've loved. Welcome back to Mighty Habits, everyone. We're in the final stretch of our deep dive into letting go and moving on.
And I'm feeling energized by all the insights we've uncovered. Before we took a moment to reflect, we were pondering the idea that sometimes a breakup is the happiest ending a story can have. It's a powerful concept, and it leads us perfectly into this final part, where we'll explore some practical tools and strategies for navigating the letting go process. Because, let's face it, sometimes we need more than just inspiring words. We need actionable steps to move us forward. One of the first things the source suggests is to try something new, something you've always wanted to do, but maybe put on hold for whatever reason. Have you been dreaming of taking a pottery class, learning to play the ukulele, or maybe finally tackling that half marathon? Well, now's the perfect time to dust off those aspirations and dive in. Immersing yourself in something new, something that sparks joy and ignites your passion, can be a powerful way to shift your focus away from the past and towards a future filled with possibilities. It's about reclaiming your time, your energy, and your sense of self. And who knows, you might even discover hidden talents or passions you never knew you had. Another practical tip the source highlights is the power of spring cleaning. And I'm not just talking about the kind where you finally organize that junk drawer you've been avoiding. I'm talking about a metaphorical spring cleaning of your mind, your heart, and your energy. Are you clinging to old grudges, resentments, or negative thought patterns that are weighing you down? Are you surrounding yourself with people who drain your energy or constantly remind you of the past? If so, it might be time to do some emotional decluttering. This could involve journaling your thoughts and feelings, practicing forgiveness meditations, or simply choosing to spend less time with people who bring you down. It's about creating space for positivity, for healing, and for new beginnings. Think of it like creating a sanctuary for your soul, a place where you can recharge, reconnect with your true self, and cultivate the energy you need to move forward with confidence and grace. Now, even though we're talking about letting go, I want to emphasize the importance of social connection, especially when you're feeling the urge to isolate yourself. While alone time is crucial for reflection and processing emotions, connecting with supportive friends and family can provide a much-needed boost of love, encouragement, and perspective. Sometimes just talking things through with someone you trust can help lighten the load and remind you that you're not alone in this journey. Think of your support system as your personal cheerleading squad, ready to offer a high five when you're feeling strong and a warm hug when you need a shoulder to cry on. I know some of you might be thinking, okay, all this sounds great, but what about those moments when the grief hits hard? When those waves of sadness just wash over me out of nowhere? And trust me, I get it. Those moments are inevitable, especially in the early stages of letting go. But the key is to not resist those waves, to not try to fight them off or pretend they're not there. Instead, allow yourself to feel them fully, to cry, to grieve, to acknowledge the pain. Sometimes the best thing we can do is simply surrender to the wave, knowing that it will eventually pass. Think of it like riding a wave on a surfboard. You don't fight the wave. You ride it, trusting your balance and knowing that you'll eventually reach the shore. And as you ride those waves of grief, remember that you're not alone. There are countless others who have gone through similar heartbreaks, who have felt that same gut-wrenching pain, and who have come out the other side stronger and wiser. You are not broken. You are not a failure. You're not unworthy of love. You are simply human, and you're experiencing a natural part of life. And here's the beautiful thing about letting go. It's not just about releasing the past. It's about creating space for something new, something better, something more aligned with your truest self. It's about reclaiming your power, your worth, and your capacity for love. It's about embracing the unknown with a sense of courage, curiosity, and hopeful anticipation. As we wrap up this deep dive into the art of letting go and moving on, I want to leave you with a final thought, one that I hope will stay with you long after this episode ends. What if the real gift of letting go isn't just about finding freedom from the past, but about discovering the infinite possibilities that lie within us? What if by releasing what no longer serves us, we open ourselves up to a world of joy, love, and fulfillment that we never even knew existed? It's a question worth pondering, a question that I hope will continue to spark your curiosity and guide you on your journey of healing and growth. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive, Mighty Habits listeners. Until next time, keep those hearts open, those minds curious, and remember, you are capable of incredible strength, resilience, and love.